What comes to your mind when I say the word data? Some good looking rows and column like this, is it? If a fresher thinks like this, I don't have a problem. But if an experienced data scientist think like this about data, then I have a problem. This video is going to be very important for people with 5+ years of data science experience and most important for the people with 10 plus or around 10 years of experience. The reason for that is you guys will be talking to clients, you guys will be decide how your project will be structured or architecture side of the project, and you guys will decide the timelines of delivery. So you must understand how to look at data and how to think about data when it comes to executing a project. Please ensure you watch this video till end, guys. I am going to cover many things but very important things for you to know. Let's start. So guys, we are going to understand few things about data that is pretty important for you to visualize or think about your project. Okay, so whenever somebody talks of data, right, there are three questions that you should ask to yourself whenever somebody talks of data in a PowerPoint presentation or anywhere, right? You should ask about three questions. I will discuss about that. Then we will see basically types of data and form of data. Okay, and form is obviously one of the question that we will ask here. Then I'm going to explain you, some people don't understand the difference between data warehouse, the OLTP or RDBMS systems normally, and data lake. So there is a lot of confusion around this. I'm going to clear this confusion. Okay. And then NoSQL DB, why it has come into picture and why people want to store data in NoSQL DB at high level, what are the various types of this. And then I'm going to take you to AWS console and show you how AWS has given different databases for different services and different purposes. Okay, so let's understand, guys, what are the three questions that you should ask whenever somebody talks data. Okay, first thing that you should ask is, what is the frequency at which I want to access this data? Okay, what is the frequency of access of this data? And second thing that you want to ask here is, what is the purpose of storing this data? If you are clear on these two things, right, frequency of access of the data and purpose of the data, then you will be 50-60% sure how that data will be stored, how that data will be in terms of quality, how that data will be in terms of volume, how that data will be difficult to migrate, easy to migrate, difficult to run machine learning, easy to run machine learning. All these things somewhat roughly you will be clear on. Okay, so first two questions to ask is, what is the frequency of access? Means do I want to access it daily? Do I want to access it monthly or weekly, or every minute it should be online, or it should be faster to access, or what I want? I want a faster access or I want something else. Okay. And then why I am storing this data as an organization. If Facebook is storing all my friends' data, all my posts, all my photos, then for a purpose it's storing, right? Facebook may or may not be storing my activity data. Why it is storing, why it is not storing. Okay. These two are the basic questions. Now don't worry, when we discuss more of these things, it will be very clear. Okay. So let's go on to the second point and discuss types of data and form of data. So as I told you, every time somebody speaks of data, maybe people are thinking some good looking rows and columns and neatly arranged data, right? But that's not true. All of you know this. This is not true. Okay. So basically your data can come in what all form. Try to think with me here. So your data can be numbers, okay, or your data can be text, okay, or your data can be videos, okay, or your data can be images, okay, or your data can be a combination of all these. So for example, if I talk of numbers, maybe a time series data, or maybe some data where there are numerical columns and rows, right? Maybe if I talk of text, a text corpus, a newspaper article, a PDF file, a email document, or maybe some kind of document, bank document that needs to be analyzed, some contract document, all these things, right? In terms of video, I can have a surveillance camera and I can stream the video data from there to do the prediction if some thief is there at my door or some unwanted person is there in my campus, right? So this way you have to think what all different forms of data can be there. And then images, all of you know that, right? Multiple purposes of image. So maybe I want to identify some letters, some language translation, some many kinds of things in image analysis, right? So these are the different types of data from source point of view, right? So from source of point of view, it can be image, it can be number, it can be text, it can be video, it can be audio, right? Now this is what this I'm talking about type. Okay, now what are the forms of the data? So forms of the data is in what format you want to store the data and for what reason you want to store in this format. Okay. So some of the formats that I want to mention here is it can be as simple as CSV file you want to store, XML file you want to store your data in, JSON file you want to store your data in, maybe in RDBMS systems you want to store your data in, right? And maybe there can be other formats. I have some noted it down. Maybe it can come in, let's say, email. So emails itself is your data. Maybe some kind of when you are storing multiple document in a text corpus, right? That corpus itself is your data. So what I'm saying is there is no end to um, how your what will be the types and forms of your data, and hence this video is very important. Okay, because as a data scientist you will be presented with, see, I have data lying here. Now what to do with this data, right? So we should be able to think that, okay, this is a image data, so image data can be converted into JSON using this, and then JSON can be used in this format using this, and then it can be used in machine learning. Okay, so understand types and forms in which data can be generated and data can be stored. Now if you have understood these basics, guys, then one thing I want to cover here, that is known as there is a very fine line of difference between something known as structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data, right? So very simple analysis here: structured, unstructured, I will say, and semi-structured. Okay, so unstructured data, what is the property of structured data? Defined schema. Okay, defined schema. If you can define a schema. So for example, I say that this is my data of my class and all the students should have a ID, should have a name, and should have a surname. That's all. So I define a schema, I start putting all my data there. Then there can be unstructured data. Okay, unstructured data means I don't know how the data will be coming. So for example, some kind of undefined schema. So video data, I don't know in video what kind of data is coming, what is the length of the video, what is the color combination, what is the pixel used, multiple things, right? I don't know. And then comes the semi structured data that can have some kind of structure but some kind of unstructured. For example, email. For example, some ways PDFs are structured, some ways PDFs are not structured. Okay, so as and when we are talking more and more of this, right, you can see that the complexity of world of data is increasing. Now see here, multiple forms, multiple types, and then comes multiple structures. So that is where it becomes important to understand the basics of data storage and for what purpose we are storing data in that particular way. Okay. Now at this point, I want you to understand very clearly, because many people confuse on this, and I'm very, I feel bad that it doesn't look good if you confuse before this in front of client or somebody, right? It doesn't look good. So don't confuse between data warehouse, OLTP, or data lake. Okay. So what is the core difference between data warehouse, OLTP, and data lake? So suppose I'm running a retail store. Okay, so I will take any retail store example. For example, pantaloons. Okay, pantaloons. I hope I'm writing the right spelling, or maybe shopper stop or something you can take. Okay, so this is the cashier operating there. Okay, one person comes and one person gives a jeans. That jeans costs, let's say, 1,000 rupees. And then Pantaloons counter tells them that, hey, you know what? From your last purchase, you have an offer of 50 rupees discount. Okay. So 50 rupees discount you have. So you need to pay only 950 rupees for this jeans. Now understand this, guys. In this kind of arrangement, right? What is the requirement? The requirement is fast access. Okay. The requirement is fast access. And the requirement is online. It should be always online, that system, from wherever this 50 rupees discount is coming into picture. Okay, and then frequent access and online you can think of as same. So just a common terminology, frequent access. Okay, so what it is happening here is customer comes, gives the jeans, and then the query is made from the backend data, and the 50 rupees coupon comes back, and then order comes from here and goes and sits back in the backend database. So this database has to be very, very fast, very online always. It cannot be like down, okay? And it should be as fast as possible. This kind of database need or requirement is called OLTP. OLTP means online transaction processing database, okay? Online transaction processing. So this is online transaction processing. Now for the same pantaloons, suppose we are now in 2023, okay? We are now in 2023. What if higher management of pantaloons want to see the performance of company between, let's say, 1990 to 2000, this 10-year window, and then 2000 to 2010, this 10-year window they want to compare, and 2010 to 2010 to 2020, this year window. So we have 3 10 years window, 10 years, 10 years, 10 years, okay? So what if the management wants to compare the performance of these 3 10 years on various aspects? So they cannot keep all this data in the OLTP system, because OLTP system will become very heavy, okay? And read and write operations may not be very fast. So all the historical data, they will move to something known as data warehouse. This is called as the historical data. I'm trying to tell you the difference between OLTP data warehouse, okay? So all these historical data, they will move to data warehouse, and from here they can pull, because these information will not be needed daily. This is not a online requirement. This is not a the read and write should not be very, I mean, even if it is not very fast, it's not a mandate, okay? So DWH, in DWH, what they will keep? They will keep the data which is historical, and where read and write is not very fast, is not needed. Okay, so this is the difference between OLTP and data warehouse. If somebody talks data warehouse, you should immediately understand this is a historical data. Okay, and read write operation being fast is not a prerequisite here, or it is not of importance here. Then there is a concept of data lake which confuses many people. Okay, data lake, what is data lake and how it is different from data warehouse? So data lake is basically a place where I will go ahead and put all the data of pantaloons from all the sectors. For example, this is for example sales data. This is for example marketing data. This is for example supply chain data. All the data without any processing, I will put in something known as data lake. Okay. So here I told you the management might want to see the 10-10 year window reports. So some bit of processing is needed here. Okay, you should be ready, your data should be in the format where these reports can be pulled. Okay, so your data should be in that format where these records should be able, they should be able to pull this record. So some kind of processing should be done before pushing the data to DWH, some processing. But in data lake, we are not sure what for we will use this data. We are just keeping it because we know tomorrow we may need this data. So that is called as a data lake. Okay, in data lake, you just dump your data. You may need it in future. For what purpose, you don't know yet. Okay, when you need it, you will take the data, convert it to that format, that purpose, and use it. Okay, so the core difference: data lake, just a data dump without any pre-processing. Data warehouse, some processing, historical data. OLTP, a system where online transaction take place. Why these things I'm telling you in such detail is, in the world of AWS, which is the leading cloud provider, for data lake purpose, they have given you something known as S3. Okay, and for data warehousing purpose, they have given you something known as Redshift. Okay, and for OLTP purpose, they have given you something known as RDS, or AWS own data system, Aurora. Okay, so for different purposes, AWS or any cloud service provider give you different databases. If you know these things, right, then it becomes very easy to architect your solution, or at least think about what is happening where. Okay, before I go into demo, let me tell you one more concept that is known as NoSQL databases. Okay, now many people think NoSQL means not SQL. It's not like that. It's not only SQL. Okay, so in NoSQL, the database does not have a fixed schema. One common property that NoSQL database will have is no fixed schema. Okay, Till now, in OLTP data warehouse or even in data lakes, mostly it may have a fixed schema. Okay, here we are talking about structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data. These data may not have a fixed schema. Unstructured data definitely will not have a fixed schema, right? So how do you put all these types and forms of data in different databases, right? So no need to know many things here. Just few types of NoSQL databases you should know. One is called key value. Okay, one NoSQL database is known as key value type of database. Okay, key value type of database. One NoSQL database is known as document DB or document database. Document database. Okay, and one type of NoSQL database is known as graph database. Okay, just at high level I will tell you what all these does. Okay, so in key value database, obviously none of these will have a fixed schema. Okay, in key value type of database, you store information in the form of key and value. Okay, I'm going to show you now the demo of this. So here you just say that, okay, my roll number is 1 and name is Aman. This is one record. One person is having a roll number and name. Other person 2 and let's say Paul can have a surname also. Aman cannot have a surname, Paul can have a surname. Other person 3, let's say John Doe, John Doe can have uh, um, I can put John's conversation history in a JSON format here. So there is no fixed schema, just one key and then values. In values, whatever I want, I can put. Okay. In document DB, your data will be stored in form of different documents. Okay. So in one document, in other document, in one document, you can have something like what you saw here, something like this. Something like this can go in one document. Okay, and something like this can go in other document, and it will be mapped by using a document collection. So this is a document database at high level. And graph database is, you know, something like you can think of Facebook, where this is Aman and Aman is friend with Aman is friend with, let's say, one person John which is friend with one person called T, just an example, and T is friend with one person called F. Okay, so what you can notice here is your nodes are your entities. Okay, your nodes are your entities and your lines is your relationships. Okay, so nodes are your entities, lines are your relationships. To store these kind of data, the best data that is used is called as graph database. Okay, and why I'm explaining you this is there are three different kind of databases provided to you by AWS to do these specific task. So if somebody talks of graph database in AWS environment, you should think of something known as Neptune. If somebody talks of document DB, you should talk of document DB. You should think of in the world of AWS. And if somebody talks of key value pair of database, you should think about DynamoDB. Okay, so what all we have learned, guys, till now, let me summarize and then we will go to demo. OLTP, okay, OLAP or data warehouse, you can say, both are same. Okay, data lake. Okay, then we saw three kinds of NoSQL database. One is key value NoSQL. Okay, one is document NoSQL. One is graph NoSQL. So in the world of AWS, you should remember OLTP is always RDS, Aurora, data warehouse is Redshift, data lake is S3, key value DynamoDB, document DB is document DB, and graph database is Neptune. Now let me try to show you all these in console. Not all these, some of these. Okay. So I will open, you can search here, but since I have opened recently, I will go here and open RDS. I will open Neptune and I will open DynamoDB. You can search other things as well. For example, Amazon Document DB, you can say fully managed MongoDB compatible database services. So MongoDB is a very famous document DB. So MongoDB can be directly integrated with document DB. Hence it is giving like this. Let's go ahead and try to understand from the top RDS. So as you can see here, Amazon RDS is very similar to your MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, or Teradata, or whatever relational database you can think of. Okay, so I can go here and I can very easily say create database, and you can see what engine you need. So you need Aurora, or you need MySQL, you need Oracle, you need MariaDB, you need SQL Server. Whatever you need, you can give and create your database and very well run your queries. Okay, so you can either go standard create, easy is for easy create. Okay, you can go, for example, if I want to create a MySQL DB, I will select this. I will keep all these things. Master password, I will just give some simple password and I will say like this. Okay, so I will simply say create database. Must be 8 characters. Let me give a better password here. Create database. So what will happen is my MySQL database that you create in your local, that I mean the process, through the process you create in your local, more or less using the same process you can create the DB here, and you can migrate your maybe local database here, or you can start feeding data from somewhere else also. So what I'm doing, I'm creating a MySQL DB here. Similarly, if I go to, let's say, see here, my MySQL database is created. Okay, I can go here and I can start putting my data. Meanwhile, let me show you how to create a schema less data. So in DynamoDB, I'm in DynamoDB. As I told you, DynamoDB is a key value pair. So I will say my key val DB, just a simple name I'm giving. Okay, and partition key is what is your identifier. Okay, so I will say my partition key is ID, for example. Short key is optional, so I will leave that blank, and then I will say create table in DynamoDB. So as you can see, DynamoDB database is created. So I will go inside this and I will simply go and say actions. Okay, and I will say create item. Okay, in this create item, in the ID I will give 1, and I can say here add new attribute. In the new attribute I can say string, so I can say name and I can say Aman. Okay, so this becomes my first item. So this is my first item. First item means you can think of first record. So I can go here and create another item. For example, I will go and say if I try to give 1, it will not allow me to create because 1 is already there. So I will give 2, and this time I will add a new attribute. I will just say roll number. Okay, and last time I entered name, this time I will enter roll number, for example 123, and I will say create item. Okay, so in 1 I have name, in 2 I have the roll number. Okay, so here if I want to download this result, right, so you will see that this is getting downloaded. And here if I open this file, right, so in first one name is there, in second one roll number is there, in third one there cannot be any of these two, and a third thing can be there. Okay, so just by this key it is identifying the record. So this kind of database is called key value. It does not have any schema. So as I told you, Redshift is data warehouse solution. So if you go to Redshift, fast, simple, cost effective data warehousing. Okay, and here query editor, it will give you, it is serverless and you can do multiple things here. Okay, so in Amazon Redshift you can simply move your entire data warehouse or create your data warehouse from S3. And as I told you, S3 is a object based. S3 I have a detailed video anyway, you can watch, this link is here. So S3 you can create whatever you want. So this is a kind of data lake. Okay, the purpose of this video was to give you a broader understanding of, if somebody talks about my data is stored in RDS or Aurora, you should understand what they are saying. If somebody says my data is in S3, you should understand what they are saying, and similarly for others. Okay, so I leave it to you to practice little bit more on whichever is little interesting for you. I'll see you all in the next video, guys. Please give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and please drop a comment saying what topics you want me to cover next. See you all in the next video. Wherever you are, stay safe and take care.